I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the privilege of losing. You might have done a double take at this title. After all, isn't privilege a good thing? And isn't losing a bad thing? Like, how could it be good to lose? I'm so glad you asked. It turns out that there are actually a host of secondary gains associated with losing that can actually make it rather difficult for certain people to succeed. And I'm going to be talking about some of those gains today. Let's get to it. The fact of the matter is that anyone who is interested in actually winning in life and attaining their goals and achieving success must be willing to pay the costs associated with doing so. As I've discussed in a previous episode, one of these costs is overpaying. Basically, in order to win, you typically have to pay more in terms of time, energy, money, effort, and sacrifice than your competition either can or will. As a consequence, you will likely go above and beyond the value of whatever you hope to secure. But there might not be a way around that. Overpaying is the cost of winning. And the more competitive the field, the more you will likely have to overpay. However, there is another cost that must be paid in order to win. On some level, the cost of winning is the willingness to sacrifice the privilege of losing. And many people who have yet to achieve success often are in their situation because, consciously or not, they are not yet willing to sacrifice this privilege. And there are actually many dimensions of this privilege. First and foremost, the privilege of losing is sympathy, in particular, and emotional support in general. Winners might get the money and the women and the fame, but it's the losers who get the sympathy and the support and the compassion. It takes a lot to win. Winning is generally associated with a great deal of pain and struggle and sacrifice. Now, you might think something like, well, boo fucking who? Like, those athletes and celebrities and executives are certainly compensated enough for their troubles. I don't want to hear their sob stories about how hard their lives are. And I would say, thank you for proving my point. That's exactly right. Once you become a winner, for better or worse, you cannot reasonably expect sympathy or understanding for your suffering and sacrifices. And this is because, whether it's true or not, people believe your success should be sufficient compensation. Now, as a therapist, I understand that these two things are almost completely independent of each other. Like, there are successful people in mental anguish and unsuccessful people in mental anguish. And there are successful people who are peaceful and happy and unsuccessful people who are peaceful and happy. But this is not the general comprehension. And this is why winning can be a lonely and isolating place. As they say, misery loves company. And this is because suffering is functionally universal, whereas success is not. Many people can't sympathize with success even if they wanted to because they haven't yet experienced it. And even more are prevented by their envy from even making the attempt. And many people would rather suffer in company than succeed all on their own, which is why many people actually sabotage their own progress so that they don't outgrow their current relationships. Winners also generally have to relinquish emotional support. Winners are celebrated at the moment of winning, but from that point forward, most people are going to be rooting for the challenger. Like, only a very small contingent of fans in Kansas City is interested in seeing the Chiefs win their third straight Super Bowl. The longer you're on top, the more attractive the underdog becomes. The underdog, who remains the underdog as long as he doesn't win, is always the more romantic cause. It's not necessarily the more just or virtuous cause, but it's certainly the more romantic cause and it then becomes increasingly associated with the positive attributes of that projection. This means that winning actually means the willingness to forgo those romantic associations. And being the option that works is generally not as attractive as the option that should work. If you appreciate the insights on this channel, I would highly encourage you to get your hands on a copy of my book, The The Value of Others. Over the course of 432 pages, I delve deep into my economic model of relationships and explain the behavior of both men and women in the game of mating and dating. I also provide a lot of actionable advice on how to get and keep more of what you want in the sexual marketplace. Once you read The Value of Others, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Now available in ebook, audiobook, and paperback formats. The links are in the description. Another privilege of losing is the ability to focus hopefully on a future goal that has yet to be attained. Once you win, however, your focus generally shifts from attaining to maintaining, which isn't nearly as exciting or emotionally compelling. Like, once you're the champion, there's kind of nowhere to go from there. There is a limited upside and a very significant downside. And this can be boring on the one hand and terrifying on the other. It's actually hard for people to tolerate these emotional realities. On the other hand, if you're the loser, or at least if you haven't yet won, you have a limited downside and a very significant upside. Striving toward that goal can provide meaning and purpose and fulfillment. You can also successfully delude yourself into thinking that you'll somehow be happy or complete or justified when you achieve that goal. On the other hand, those who have achieved their goals only to discover that they, after some time, are just as unhappy, incomplete, and unjustified as they were before, may not have recourse to a hope that may protect them from that experience. And this is precisely when a lot of successful people start to go off the rails. They can no longer believe that their happiness is on the other side of their success. And since they know no other place to look, come to believe that life must be devoid of the possibility of happiness and increasingly act in line with that belief. What's more, winning is associated with a good deal of pressure and responsibility and accountability. Few people hold losers accountable. We kind of think that they've suffered enough, as if accountability is somehow throwing salt in their wounds. Spoiler alert, it's not. And losers who avoid accountability are often maintained in their difficulties longer than necessary as a consequence of these good-intentioned sympathizers. Those who have not yet attained success can also more easily delude themselves into thinking that they could handle the pressures and responsibilities of success better than those who actually won. The world is full of armchair quarterbacks who know exactly how they would handle being in the pocket, which is doubtful at best. Finally, winning can completely destabilize your life. This is often why people self-sabotage when they are on the verge of success. The prospect of attaining that reality becomes too vertiginous and disruptive. Their lifestyles, their relationships, even their self-concepts might be completely upended if they were to suddenly emerge into a higher social stratum. So they unconsciously choose to snatch defeat from the jaws of success, preferring instead to abide in the hope of winning in the future rather than navigate the reality of winning in the present. This also allows them to believe that they could have won if they really wanted to, and to comfort themselves with the sympathy and condolences of those around them, many of whom are secretly relieved or even satisfied to have seen them fail. My point is that there are actually many privileges to losing, and in order to win, people must typically make a conscious sacrifice of these privileges. But in my opinion, it just might be worth doing so. Why not explore the limits of that which you are truly capable? What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please send this episode to someone who you think might benefit from its message, as it's word-of-mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. And anyone looking to join my free weekly newsletter or book a paid consultation can do so on my website. The links to everything are in the description below. As always, I appreciate your support, and thank you for listening.